views and opinions expressed on Explorers Secrets of the Truth or that of their guests or contributors are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent. All information on Explorers Secrets of the Truth is provided in good faith. However, we make no representation or warranty of any kind, express or implied, regarding the accuracy, adequacy, validity, reliability, availability, or completeness of any information on this talk show or website.
From monsters and ghosts to otherworldly beings, join the Explorers as they venture into the darkest realms, seeking the truth to what goes bump in the night.
Welcome back to Explorers Secrets of the Truth. I'm Chad.
And I'm Les. And tonight, oh boy, we're diving into the world of the Paranormal's power couple, Ed and Lorraine Warren.
That's right. Episode 89 is all about the Warrens, two names that are basically legends in the world of ghost hunting, demonology, and controversial investigations.
Yeah, demonology, that's already a $10 word, Chad.
Yeah, well, get ready for this whole vocabulary buffet for this evening.
Well, I hope it comes with fries.
It probably doesn't.
Probably not. I wouldn't be that lucky.
Well, I'd just like to report that I didn't get a tum-tum from the heat outside.
That's good. That's good. I know the heat is sensitive on you, or you're sensitive to it.
Yeah. People crying about it being hot.
Good Lord.
But I digress.
That's all right. That's all right.
But before we do dive into the Warrens, Les,
Mm-hmm.
tell everybody where they can reach us.
You can watch us live every other Tuesday on Facebook and YouTube. You can find us on our website, explorersgroup.com, on Twitter or X at Explorers Group. You could listen to us on any of your favorite podcast providers at Explorers or Explorers Seekers of the Truth. I think you have to search the full name. And all we ask is if you watch us on Facebook, follow our page. If you watch us on YouTube, like and subscribe, comment throughout the show because we'll be able to see all your comments live. Hopefully, we'll be able to see it. Actually, I want to make sure that we have the chat open and ready. Rick Russell says hi, everyone. Alicia says hi. So we got some comments coming through in YouTube. So follow on Facebook, like and subscribe on YouTube, and on your podcast providers, give us a 5-star review if you don't mind. That just helps boost us along. That's all we ask. That's so precious little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's start with the basics.
Okay.
Ed Warren was a self-taught demonologist. One of the only lay demonologists recognized by the Catholic Church at the time. And Lorraine Warren was a clairvoyant and trans medium.
Which means
I don't know.
You normally know everything.
Well, never mind. I'm not going to go there because I don't think it's basically, she said that she could see and communicate with spirits. A trans medium means she'd let those spirits speak through her.
Like what happened to Whoopi Goldberg in the movie Ghost?
Similar, yeah.
Okay.
Together, they claim 10,000 cases spanning from simple hauntings to demonic possessions.
So they're kind of like the Batman and Robin of spooky stuff, only with more crucifixes.
Yeah, they definitely are the dynamic duo. But they, yeah, Batman and Robin, like,
I wonder if any ghosts, attacked him if they had like the kapow, boom, bam, with the word bubbles. That'd be awesome.
The 1960s Adam West Batman.
That's right.
Now, they were also behind some of the most famous cases in paranormal history, like the Amityville Horror, the Perron family hauntings that inspired The Conjuring, and of course the infamous Annabelle doll.
Yeah.
So let's start with arguably their most famous case, which would be the Amityville Horror. It's a name that basically became paranormal shorthand. It has launched millions of movies now.
Yeah. Well, you said 10,000 cases. I mean, they've done half a dozen movies.
Yeah.
And some spin-offs like The Nun and Annabelle and stuff like that with 10,000 cases. You can make a lot of movies.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, though. Like, it goes from simple hauntings. I mean, if you think about Hans Holzer, probably investigated just as many.
Probably. Yeah.
Over his career and revisited how many of these sites multiple times over his. So they're saying 10,000 cases. Now, this could be anything from, hey, every night when I come home, I find, my candle moved from this table to that table.
Yeah.
When I leave in the morning, it's on that table and it's not over here. All the way up to what they claim is demonic possessions.
Right. Which, if you're Zach Baggins, everything is demonic possession.
Well, that's one of those weird things. Like, if you get into like a super religious point of view on it, there are no such thing as ghosts. It is all demons pretending to be ghosts.
Gotcha.
So, not that I'm defending Zach Bagans in any imagination, but
you always follow up with the facts.
Yeah. So, getting into this whole, Amityville situation here.
Well, do you want to talk about the timeline?
Yeah, let's get into the timeline here. You're looking at 1974. Ronald DeFeo Jr. murders his entire family, parents, and 4 siblings while they slept in the home at 112 Ocean Ave in Amity, New York.
That's just awful.
Yeah, and if you think about it, like, a lot of the stuff that just goes along with that murder is weird. Like, we don't really cover murders as a topic, but if you just look at a lot of the reports on that murder case itself, I think they interviewed him later in life, and he basically had said, like, he died a couple of years ago from what I remember, but he had said, like, the one thing he regrets about all of it is he didn't kill his grandmother.
Oh, God.
Like, had no remorse whatsoever for the rest of the family, but was like telling the person who was interviewing, like, my biggest regret is I didn't kill grandma.
That's horrible.
Like, she was the only one I didn't get.
Jesus Christ. Now, that's a twisted mind right there.
Yeah. And I don't think she lived in the house. I just think whatever it was, I think it was like the neighbor's cat or their cat or dog was telling him to kill the people or something. Like,
oh, God.
He had, like, they tried insanity with him and all that stuff, and to try to say he wasn't in his right mind when he did it.
Yeah.
Now, it does get weirder because a year later, this is where the movie really starts.
Okay.
Is a year later, the Lutz family moves in, and that's George and Kathy Lutz and their children. Now, of course, they lasted about 28 days before fleeing, claiming the house was haunted.
Well, only 28 days. I mean, it feels like to me, I feel like it would take longer for a haunting to really take hold and make you want to evacuate a home you just moved into.
Yeah, you would think. I mean, they reported cold spot, slime oozing from the walls, voices, levitating objects, and George walking around at 3:15 every night, the exact time the murders occur.
Well, I mean, that's within the so-called witching hour, so it kind of makes sense that if strange things were to happen, it would be during that time.
Hmm. Yeah. Now, again, this all goes into these, feeling cold spots.
Hmm.
It's an older house.
Yeah.
Like, you may have some cold areas in your house, like areas that don't hold the heat as much as another room.
Yeah.
You know,
Windows are not what they are today either.
yeah. Slime oozing from the walls.
Mold.
Mold, or I heard it explained on one of the documentaries about it, and it was like some material that had been used in the house. It was like paint, and the
Okay.
paint was actually like bleeding off the wall,
Mm.
and they said it was slime oozing, but like when people examined, they found chips of the paint on the floor in the room where they said the wall was oozing.
Yeah.
So was it just paint light trick, tricking their eyes and thinking, oh, it's oozing, but it's actually the paint like peeling off the wall and rolling up.
That's true.
Now,
or maybe whatever this ooze was lifted the paint and that dried, and then the paint just fell.
yeah,
You know what
I
mean?
mean,
So there was no trace of the ooze.
yeah, and you're also a house along the water.
Moisture. Yep.
Yeah, you got tons of moisture, like you said, mold. You could just have some material like in the wall, like the stuff is sweating and it's releasing a dye, and the dye is bleeding through, because of course there's never any evidence of any of this ooze. There's no ectoplasm kept by anybody, or they, when it is kept, it always turns out to be like, oh, it's paint chips, or it's tomato ketchup rolling down a wall.
Yeah.
So now the Lutz family did bring in a priest to bless the house, who reported to heard a voice scream, "Get out."
Always.
Yes. And they eventually contacted Ed and Lorraine Warren. That's where the Warrens come into this.
All right. Well, what do the Warrens say?
Ed claimed the house was saturated with demonic energy.
Of course.
Due to the murders and some alleged occult practices. Lorraine said she felt overwhelming sadness and sensed a dark presence in the house. They claimed to capture a ghostly image, including the infamous photo of the ghost boy peeking from a doorway.
Well, yeah, that photo creeps me out. It looks like the kid with glowing eyes.
Yes, it's both celebrated and debunked. Some say it was just someone in the house that they accidentally caught on cameras. Others swear it's a spirit of one of the murdered DeFeo children.
Well, don't forget then, there's all the books and movies about the Amityville murders.
Exactly. Now, the original...
I'm stumbling over them. I said if I could say the words, I'm like, would it be Amityville? Hey, hold on. I just... Cindy, you finally made it in early. Good to see you back. Hello, Cindy. She's chiming in from YouTube. Awesome. Good to have Cindy back. Sorry, I just had to say that because I haven't seen her in a while. Go ahead.
So the original Amityville book came out in 1977. The movie followed up in 1979, and it snowballed into dozens. I mean, I've seen Amityville horror sequels like in the last, from say like 2015 till like this year.
Yeah.
There's like an Amityville zombie movie.
God.
Like, they just take the name Amityville, they throw it on there. It has nothing to do with any of the original like Amityville haunting story. And they just, oh, it's Amityville, and the house looks nothing like the house. Of course, they always used to, well, this guy murdered his family in this house, and the house is like in California. It's like in the, it's got a big pool in the backyard. It's like nowhere near the ocean. The sun rises on the wrong side of the house. The completely continuity problems.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're just trying to profit off the name or the story.
Now,
I will say the newer one with Ryan Reynolds, that was actually really good.
I was going to say the remake with Ryan Reynolds was, he played, now, was it is it Josh Brolin? Josh Brolin's dad was Josh Brolin.
Yeah. Josh Brolin is the from the Goonies. His dad was the original.
Yeah, what was his
Dad in
name?
the-
George?
I don't know.
The older Brolin.
Yeah,
He did a great job in that movie.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Now, of course, it was 1979, and the limits of the special effects and the way they created those movies back then did not have the Ryan Reynolds
budget.
budget and creepiness to
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Now, it also has spawned several documentaries.
Yeah, but wasn't it rumored that the Lutzes admitted to making it all up though?
See, that's the controversy. That's where I want to kind of veer off here for a minute.
Uh-huh.
Now, this is where this is a controversy. A lawyer involved in the book deal later said they had fabricated some over some wine and some stuff like that. They fabricated this.
Okay.
But the Lutzes deny it. And the Warrens stood by their account to the end. Now, I want to get into, there's a very good documentary. I'm sorry I didn't make a note of this in our notes. There's a very good documentary. It was one of the girl ladies who was, I think she was one of the investigators that had worked with the Warrens, like when she was younger in the North New England Paranormal Society or whatever it was. She became friends with the son.
Okay.
She had befriended him when he was a little boy and they were investigating the case. And she, years later, back in like I want to say like 2012-ish or something like that, she tracked him down. Okay. And it was kind of to present the overall definitive, was this a true story?
Yeah.
It's called the documentary is called, I think, My Amityville Horror.
Ooh, okay. I'm gonna look that one up.
It was on Tubi at one time. I don't know if it still is. I know it was on Netflix at one time also. It's a very good documentary because the boy goes into details that aren't necessarily in the book. Okay. And of course, we have to say allegedly because honestly, we don't know any of this as 100% confirmed detail.
Yeah.
He claimed that when his mom and George started dating, because George is not his father, when they had started dating, George was already involved in some form of the occult. Had books on witchcraft, had books on occult practices, black magic, all in his apartment that they would go with his mom to meet George at, and he had it on a bookshelf.
Okay.
So he claimed George already was somewhat involved in these practices. Now, he did, from what I can remember the documentary, it's been years since I've seen it, he did say a lot of the stuff that they claimed happened did actually happen. He's saying it did not necessarily happen in the order it's presented, but a lot of the accounts did happen, them seeing stuff outside. He did kind of argue out the timeline, like with the priest coming. Yeah. And of course, the story is the priest came in and there was all the flies on the window, but it's the middle of winter, so there shouldn't have been a infestation of flies or bees or whatever it was at the time.
Yeah.
He did say like that didn't happen right away. That wasn't like a very early on like incidents, and he kind of pushed a lot of it off on George. Yeah. And I know like George had been interviewed over the years. He did interviews with like Art Bell, and I think George and Kathy were on The Tonight Show or something like that at one point, when either when the movie came out or when the book had come out, when it was like a bestseller and they were optioning the movie, they had come out and they kind of like present the story, but they don't necessarily present it the same way the book presents it.
Yeah.
So I know like the boy was traumatized by something.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could tell, I mean, he developed issues as he got older. Drug addiction, I believe, was one of them and stuff like that. But he did kind of push a lot of it off on like this was George's doing. This stuff was happening at George's apartment prior to them moving into the house even.
Okay.
And they talked about that ghost boy photo and they kind of have a feeling it's him in the photo.
Ah.
Like I think they went into it and they kind of like debunked it because he would have fit the right size for that time frame. Like that would have been about as tall as he was and stuff like that.
Huh. Well, it's either the greatest ghost story ever told or just a spooky cash grab.
Mm-hmm. And well, either way, it also helps cement the Warrens as the paranormal heavyweights, the paranormal power couple,
Yeah.
per se.
Yeah. I guess that was their first claim to fame, case. I just want to add one thing, not to cut you off, but Cindy said she took her grandkids to see Robert the Doll. That thing is there's a certain paranormal entity or person that creeps you out.
Mm-hmm.
That Robert the Doll is mine.
Yeah.
There's something about that doll. I can't even look at it. I won't watch the documentary. Like it's just that thing creeps the crap out of me.
I'm just going to send you anonymously Robert the Doll figurines, Robert the Doll pictures, Robert the Doll emails. I'm going to sign you up for the Robert the Doll of the day photos.
You would too.
Of course I would. Like, why wouldn't I?
All right, back to the story.
Mm-hmm. So now, of course, we got to talk about Annabelle.
Oh, yes.
And no, not what talking about the porcelain doll from the movie. We're talking about the actual Raggedy Ann doll.
Raggedy Ann. That one gets me every time. It's the one with the triangle nose, right? With the button eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my siblings and we used to have both Raggedy Ann and Andy growing up. And they always creeped the shit out of me. I don't know. There's something about like those dead eyes that just, I don't know. I didn't like them. But in hindsight, Raggedy Ann isn't scary. I mean, it's weird looking, but I mean, you compare it to the Annabelle doll, and I know we talked about this before, but you compare the Raggedy Ann to the movie doll, and you look at the Raggedy Ann sitting in that case, it's just so corny.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess we should kind of elaborate a little bit here because Les and I talk a lot about the whole Annabelle situation, and I've spoken to several people about this. The reason there's an Annabelle doll that isn't Annabelle the Raggedy Ann doll is because they couldn't license the Raggedy Ann doll to make money off of it.
No.
So they had to create a porcelain doll. And if you look at that doll's creepy just on its own. Like, you wouldn't have had to put her in a movie. Take that doll and just sell it as a doll before it was ever in a movie. Every parent would have looked at that thing and went, that thing's freaking creepy. Why would I get that for my kid? It just looks evil. So they created this, sinister, naturally just scary looking doll.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let's move along.
So now, hopefully, nobody, you didn't have the Raggedy Ann doll that was Annabelle.
Well, I mean, if I did, it could explain my lifelong fascination of the paranormal and all things strange.
Mm-hmm. Or it could just be Robert the doll.
Oh God, don't.
See, you didn't even have to say the name for me, and I already started to get a response, so you don't have to go any further.
I know.
I'll just mute my headphones. I won't hear you.
That's right. That's right.
So, according to the Warrens, in the early 1970s, a nursing student named Donna received the doll as a gift from her mother. Not long after, she and her roommate, Angie, noticed the doll moving positions. Sometimes it would be found in different rooms, and once they found it kneeling on its own.
All right. So what makes that terrifying, right, is though the Raggedy Ann dolls, they don't have parts within them to kind of like articulate the arms and legs, and they're not posable. Like, they're literal rag dolls. Hence the name, you know? So it's just loose, floppy fabric. So the fact that this thing is like holding position on its own and different positions, that creeps me out. I mean, again, the Raggedy Ann doll isn't necessarily scary. It is weird looking, but that would freak me out, seeing that thing just holding its own shape in different parts of the room.
Yeah, like if you left it sitting on the couch, like behind you, and tomorrow morning you came in and it was sitting on your desk, and you know you're the only person that goes in there.
Yeah.
You know, that would
freak me out.
Yeah, and I mean that could be a Smurf doll. If it was doing that, I would be a little like,
freak me
hey,
out.
something's not right. And there's
Absolutely.
nothing scary about the Smurfs. Like, now, one of the things they said was they started finding handwritten notes that said, "Help me," written on parchment paper. Neither of them owned parchment paper.
Oh, God.
Eventually, a psychic told them the doll was possessed by the spirit of a girl named Annabelle Higgins, who had died in the area. The spirit said she felt safe with the girls and just wanted to stay.
Well, it sounds kind of sweet, but aside from the fact that it's still a haunted doll.
Yeah, I mean, again, it goes back to like if it was truly just a little kid.
Yeah. Or
like,
is it a demon in disguise?
Well, yeah, but say it is just truly a little kid.
That kid would be moving the doll around.
Yeah, the kid would be playing with it. But also, if it was just a little kid, it wasn't doing creepy stuff. And first of all, like, write something more than "help me" on parchment paper none of us own.
Right.
Like,
that's true.
Help me, I'm a young girl named Annabelle and I died in the lot across the street and I really like it here with you two and I feel safe and secure. Please, if it's okay, can I stay?
Well, depending on how old the kid is, they may have limited abilities of reading and writing.
Dude, it got parchment paper neither one of them owned and wrote "help me."
True, fair point, but you know, maybe she had it stashed somewhere in the house from when she was alive.
Yeah, true, possible, but the fact that she was writing "help me," like,
it's
a little more, just a bit more. Just give me a little bit more, and I'll be okay with you.
That's true.
Now, it was later reported a male friend of theirs got scratched across the chest after provoking the doll. And that's when they had contacted the Warrens.
You would think, though, that people would learn by now that provoking any object that's reported to be haunted is a bad idea.
You would hope. But yet you watch any paranormal television show, and that's provocation is one of their biggest tools. Like they have, no concept other than that.
That's very true.
I mean, think about how many times people have played in Civil War battlefields. On the Confederate side, they're playing the Battle Hymn of the Republic, or on the Union side, they're playing Dixie. And then all of a sudden you get these, oh yeah, I turned on this YouTube video of Dixie, and all of a sudden I got a stabbing sensation on my stomach when I was on, over here on the Union side of the line. Well, yeah, you're provoking.
Yeah. Actually, Alicia brings up a good point. Childlike spirits are always demons. Kids are innocent and go straight to heaven. That's a good way of looking at it.
Unless you're Catholic and believe in purgatory.
That's true. That's true.
But I guess, yeah, actually in 60 something they got rid of purgatory, or 70 something. So yeah, I guess so.
Uh-huh.
Now, get back to Ed and Lorraine Warren, though.
Yeah, Cindy has a good point coming up, but I want you to continue on, and I'll read it.
Okay. Now, Ed and Lorraine declared it wasn't a child spirit. It was something much darker, a demonic entity, pretending to be innocent to gain trust.
There you go.
They took the doll and brought it to their occult museum in Connecticut.
Well, classic case, like we're saying, demons tugging at the heartstrings with a child's voice to gain the trust of an unsuspecting human. And then you mentioned they took the doll to their museum, right? And you are referring to the famous one in the glass case, right? The Annabelle doll in the glass case.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's displayed with a wood sign that says, "Warning, positively do not open," according to the Warrens. Even touching the case can invite bad luck. They tell stories of a visitor who mocked Annabelle, tapped on the glass, and died in a motorcycle crash later that day.
God. Well, that, like Cindy just posted before, I wonder why they put these dolls or objects in a glass case. Can evil or spirits not go through glass? I mean, that's a very good point, you know?
Okay.
And go ahead.
Okay, I can answer part of it.
Go for it.
According to Jinn folklore, so Jinn are beings created from smokeless fire. Okay. They are basically equated to demons. Don't know if they necessarily are, but that's the equation for the Muslim faith to another Abrahamic religion would be demon, even though demons don't actually show up in. Never mind. They're actually not in the Bible. But
that's another rabbit hole for another show.
Jinn can be trapped in glass. There's something about glass because of it being sand that's heated, and the structure is like still liquid technically, even though it's a solid, from what I can recall. That there's, for some reason, they can't get through the glass. A Jinn issue can be solved with a chocolate chip and a glass mason jar.
So the Jinn goes after the chocolate chip into the jar and you lock them in?
Put the mason jar top on it and it's stuck. People claim that the chocolate chip, even if you sit the mason jar just on a flat surface, the chocolate chip will move around inside the jar at times.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't want to test it because like Jinn are terrifying. Well, is that anything like a genie then? Like being trapped in a lamp?
Genies are, and again, I'm going off loose memory here, are a form of a Jinn type entity, but they're not necessarily full on Jinn.
Okay.
Like it's a demi level type thing where they're a form of Jinn, but they're not
free to roam like a Jinn because they're bound.
They're bound in the lamps. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, and even Cindy says that's interesting. See, I told you, Cindy, he knows everything. And we were talking before, back to the Annabelle in the glass, that you brought up a really great point. I don't know if we talked about it on the show, if we talked about it during one of our off-air conversations or our daily 3-hour phone calls that we have with each other. If Annabelle in this glass case is real and as dangerous as they say, why would they put it on display in their museum for public tours, and B, now be taking this thing all over the country on roadshow.
Okay, so let's go through this each phase slowly and simply, right? If this doll, first of all, is a demonically possessed item,
Right.
do you think the Catholic Church would not have it?
Absolutely, they would. It would be
Okay.
locked away in the Vatican.
The 7 layers under the Vatican are vaults,
Right.
and they are said to have some very interesting things in those vaults. And of course, you can't get access to a lot of the levels without some major governmental and religious pull.
Right.
So, if there was this demon who was trapped into this doll with a guy who was quote unquote recognized by the Catholic Church as a lay demonologist, meaning a non-traditionally trained officiant demonologist.
I was going to ask you what that actually meant.
It's a term. It's like you can have like lay ministers. It just means they're not ordained,
Okay.
so they can
Everything but.
Yeah, they know the scripture, they know the Bible, they know their stuff, but they don't have the ordaining or the, like, for Ed to have been a Catholic, one, he wouldn't have been able to be married or have children or, you know.
Oh, okay. That makes sense then.
So, you know, this guy claims, and of course they claim to have this great relationship with the local church and stuff like that. If this thing was real, it would have gotten stolen back in 70 something.
Oh, yeah.
Because here's the thing, it's a Raggedy Ann doll. You go to the museum, you can't tell me the Catholic Church isn't powerful enough to do this. They are like the largest, entity in the world. You go to the museum, you look at the doll, you take a photo of the doll, camera, whatever. You go back to your group, you make a copy of the doll. You wait until the Warrens are out of the house. You break into the house. You remove the doll, put the fake doll in there. You lock her up in your, Jesus box and run her out of the house, throw her in a car, and she's in Vatican City before she knows where she is.
Right.
That's one thought, right? Now, when you come to this whole, hey, they're touring around the country with her. Ed and Lorraine Warren, their daughter Judy, she's featured in one of the movies. Like, they kind of featured her more than her mom and dad. The Devil Made Me Do It one.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, where they kind of like feature her and the boy, and it's the werewolf from England basically chasing the boy through the yard, the spirit of a wolf, like chasing the boy through the yard. And Annabelle, of course, goes for a walkabout during all this. She had a son with her first husband. Her son now runs his grandparents' original association, the New England Paranormal or Parapsychology Association or whatever. He basically came out and made a video. He said either this is a complete fake, that's not the real doll.
Yeah.
Or this is the dumbest thing anybody's ever done for money. But do not equate events happening in these areas to this doll.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you go back to when she was in Louisiana, 10 prisoners escaped from prison in that area. Okay. A prison break doesn't happen spur of the moment.
Yeah.
It would have to be like a wall fell down and they just all ran. It's not hey, elaborate plan we came up with 5 minutes ago. It's going to work this well.
Yeah.
It's a lot of planning. So they planned on doing that. The historical plantation that burned down in the same area, somebody set it on fire. Somebody wanted to destroy history for whatever their goal, purpose, or reason was. So they wanted to destroy history. It's an antebellum plantation house. So it was a house that had slaves.
Yeah.
Certain people don't like to have that history around, don't want to learn from that history and understand that is as much a part of African American history as it is, American history.
Yeah.
So that has nothing to do with a doll being somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. She is going to be in Gettysburg not this weekend, 3 weeks from now, 2 weeks from now.
Mm-hmm.
Next week's the 30th, 4th, 11th. She'll be in 2 weeks.
Okay.
So not the week after the 4th of July, the 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, whatever it is. She'll be there for 3 days, right? They charge $40 to go look at her per person, to go look at her and take a picture. I figured it out. If they run a 10-hour day, you get 5 minutes to take a picture with her, right? They run a 10-hour day from 8 a.m. till 5, whatever, 8 to 6, 10 hours, right? In 3 days, they make $300,000.
Jesus.
$100,000 a day to take a picture with a fucking doll, which nobody can prove is actually haunted.
Right.
Right.
Or is the actual one?
Well, that's the thing. If you look at the doll for years, all the images of Annabelle in that glass case, Annabelle's so evil that you can't even move her to change, because they have to change her case every so often. So they put on these welding gloves and they sprinkle holy water on her, and they sprinkle holy water on each other, and they gently move her into another case and they sprinkle holy water all over it. They're traveling across country with her. They're putting her in a car or on a plane. Now, she killed somebody for tapping on the glass. Right. Guy on a motorcycle. Because motorcycle accidents don't ever fucking happen. My dad didn't have 4 of them before he died. Right? They don't happen. You definitely pissed off Annabelle. So, she will be in Gettysburg. What is it? Gettysburg, the same time she's there.
Is it Bike Week?
It is Bike Week and Tattoo Fest.
There you go.
So, if there's any truth to Annabelle being this evil demonic force, right? There should be an increase in things. Yeah. Right? But don't sit there, and of course I know somebody's going to do it. They're going to send me that first report of the motorcycle accident during Bike Weekend. I hate to break it to you, it happens every year.
Yeah.
It happens at least once to twice a day every year, because some idiot in a car isn't paying attention to the thousands of motorcycles that are on those roads.
There was the accident when we were down there for the bike.
There's an accident. There's an accident every year.
Yeah.
There are several every year. There are motorcycle accidents every day. There's motorcycles on the road.
Yeah.
Because too many people are holding their goddamn cell phones and not paying attention to the fucking roads around them. I'm sorry, I ride a motorcycle. I get a little pissed off. I think, honestly, I should be allowed to shoot you if you're on your cell phone, because to me, it's a risk. You're threatening my life by not paying attention. Yeah. I advocate the murder of people on their cell phones. But these things are going to happen. It's not a correlation because Annabelle's there. Yeah. Annabelle is a stuffed animal.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, if she was really that possessed and that scary and that evil, the Catholic Church would have her, and we'd all maybe never have heard of her. Or we would have heard of her in the sense of the Warrens spreading the fact that this doll that's been in this case for years, right? Getting back to my point on that. If you ever look at the original pictures of her, she has dirt on her.
Yeah, yeah.
She's a old Raggedy Ann doll that somebody played with, right?
And aged, yeah.
Yeah. Look at the pictures everybody's taking with Annabelle now.
Looks brand new.
She looks clean as could be.
Yep.
There's no spots on her. There's no wear. There's no tear. There's no years of just being a doll.
Yeah.
So kind of makes me believe it's not the real doll.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, it's a money grab.
And didn't you say that the grandson even said that she is sitting in the museum? She is not out on tour?
He alluded it's the son. Well, the grandson of the Warrens, excuse
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
He had alluded that he doesn't think it's the real doll, and he's pretty sure. Now, he does not have contact with his mom or his stepdad, who are the ones, his stepdad is the one who's running all this stuff.
Ah,
Oh, and guess who's also involved in all this stuff?
Ryan Buell.
Ryan Buell. So anybody, this is not allegedly, he's been fucking charged with fraud cases.
Yeah.
He's been convicted of fraud cases. That's
Mhm.
not an alleged, that's public record.
Yeah.
So now you have a guy who's already known to be a fraud in the paranormal, not just in paranormal, but in business.
Yeah.
He's known to be a fraud, and he's the tour host. Because of course, how did they publicize the fact that they were adding dates to her tour?
Yeah.
Oh, Annabelle got lost. Somehow in our travels, she ended up in Mexico. Oh, she's in Chicago. The guy who actually runs, or one of the family members, it's one of the kids or something, it might have been Tony's kid,
Mhm.
did a video with her in the case in the museum in Connecticut. He's like, she's not lost. She did not get lost. She came back with me. She's in this case.
Yeah.
It's not the same doll they're touring with.
Yeah. Alicia, just throw the possessed doll in the washing machine. That's a way to clean it up. That's a way to clean up. And I agree with good to see you, OS. Good to see you. OS is here, and I agree with him. I wouldn't spend that kind of money to see that stupid doll. Extra detergent. Yes.
You know, it's honestly like there was there's a Comic-Con coming up in Roanoke in this area.
Mhm.
And I said to my wife, I said, oh my God, Klinger from MASH and Igor will be at it. Okay, they're like two of the main, Igor wasn't a main character, but he was a recognized named character, like he was given an actual name throughout the series.
Mhm.
And Klinger.
Yeah.
Klinger is one of the major characters, one of the last, living major characters from the show. And I said, oh,
Didn't
yeah.
Hot Lips just pass away recently?
Yeah, like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So it was like Alan Alda and Klinger.
Yeah.
Like, from the main cast, I think, that are still alive, because I think all the other ones have passed away already.
Pretty sure, yeah.
So I said, oh, Klinger is going to be there. I said, it's like $72 to go get a picture with him. My wife looked at me and she goes, would you pay that to go see him? And I'm like, I sat for a minute. I'm like, no, I wouldn't. It's $72. Like, I wouldn't pay $40 for 5 minutes with a doll. Right. I know you've paid at least $40 for 5 minutes with a doll at least once in your life, but me personally, I've never had to do that.
Nice.
I mean, I know some Bigfoot guys who camping in their cars and parking lots probably have dolls too, but they need them. But I would never pay $40 to go stand, like, and also it's not like you're touching her. Like, it's not like you get to go up there and like run a meter over her, or it's like that's what are those two boys you love, the two goth,
Sam and Colby.
I wanted to call them Zach.
Love them. I just enjoyed a couple of their episodes.
I think it's a little bit deeper than that. They did the Estes experiment with the Annabelle doll, right?
I didn't see that one, actually.
I thought you and we talked about it. They do an Estes experiment where they take the new spirit box that does the vocal and they plug in headphones, they put an eye mask on, they put the headphones on, they're noise canceling so you don't hear the room around them. So you're not supposed to hear the questions the person's asking.
Yeah.
So I don't know which one is which. The one is asking the questions, the other one has the headphones on, the mask on, and is listening to the newer spirit box. And of course, all the questions line up with semi-sensical responses.
Mm-hmm.
But like I thought I talked to you about it. They're so close to each other that you and I could pull this off. Like we could totally pull this scam off.
Yeah.
All we have to do is you sit down, you put on the stuff. I give you my spirit box. I put the little mask on you, put your headphones on. I ask questions and I sit there and when I get done saying something, I tap you with my foot.
Mm-hmm.
You know the order the questions are going to be in.
Well, hold on. You don't even have to do that. Don't turn the box on because he has headphones on. You can't hear what the spirit box is saying.
Yeah, but if somebody was smart and it's like my new spirit box where you actually see the stations going on the screen, like
Yeah,
at the camera,
true.
you'd have to make sure you didn't catch it on the camera, right?
Yeah.
But if you wanted to make it legit, like, oh, here's what he's listening to, and I unplug the headphones and it's
Yeah.
and I plug the headphones back in, and it's like, okay, now you do it. Ready? I say, Les, first question I'm going to ask is, are you here?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to bump you when I say, are you here? I'm going to bump you with my foot on your foot, and you're going to go around. Second question is, who are you? I'm going to bump you when I say, are you?
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to go, darkness. I'm going to ask one more question, and you're going to say, imprisoning me. That's all you had to do.
Metallica,
yeah, just turn it into one. But you know what I mean? Like, that's all they had to do. So there's no real, like the SDs where you have the secondary, where you take the microchip that records when you put the SD card in, it records. You take that out, you play it for me, and I can match up the audio from the video and your responses. Then I would believe it.
Yeah.
They don't.
Yeah.
So, it's definitely, I don't think it's real. I don't think it's the doll. I don't think things happen because this doll's around. Even the Warren's grandson said the doll doesn't cause things.
Yeah.
I mean, like this original story of like the guy tapped on the glass and he got into a motorcycle accident. Was the guy maybe not just an asshole?
Yeah.
Like, if he was dumb enough, like he was one of those, I'm too cool for the room guys, don't touch the glass. And he goes up and touches the glass. Well, how do we know he was the kind of guy that also got on his bike and just like cut off cars?
Yeah.
While he's riding, like, and then got hit by one. And then it was like, oh, he pissed off Annabelle, so she killed him.
Yeah.
The story of Annabelle, though, has inspired a spin-off in the Conjuring universe.
Nice segue back into the script.
But again, Hollywood took big liberties. The doll isn't that fancy looking, but the story around it are just as terrifying.
That's correct.
The stories, like these actual stories that they've created this spin-off franchise with, I mean, are great movies. Like, they are quintessentially great movies. Like the one with the girls, like the orphan girls that are with the nun or whatever that go to live with that family, and Annabelle Creation.
See, I don't remember half of them. I've seen them all, but it was like forever ago.
I've seen them all multiple times, so I kind of have weird. They're good movies, though. They are good.
No, they are for sure.
Like,
yeah, absolutely.
the whole Conjuring Warren universe, right, is cinematically a great universe.
Mm-hmm. The Conjuring movie, I think, is my favorite though. That one was great.
I like that one. I would say the original Annabelle, like
the first one, not the sequel.
Yeah, like the kind of story of Annabelle, like with the family, that the guy and the girl that got her, that then basically had the Manson child living next to them, who was basically a representation of the Manson family in that movie.
Yeah.
They're just good movies. Like, they're good modern. The Conjuring movie was good. It was just a deep suspenseful horror movie.
Yeah.
It wasn't, the big jump, like the big monster jumps out from behind a tree. It's those little subtle.
Yeah, like when she's with
creepy-
the match in the stairwell going to the basement, like that clap thing.
Yeah.
Oh man, that one got me.
I even like the one, the Enfield one, even though it's very fictional.
The Enfield one.
It's The Conjuring. It's the second Conjuring movie.
I don't think I've seen the second one. Gee, I'm out. I'm way out of it. I haven't seen all of them.
Yeah. It's basically they go to England and investigate The Conjuring or the
Okay, that's all
the
right.
Enfield
Yeah.
poltergeist.
Well, that was and that was that TV series. Not TV series, but it was like a mini series with
the one I recommended to you with the guy from
from
Harry Potter.
Yeah, he played oh god,
Hogwarts.
Peter Pettigrew from Harry Potter.
Wasn't he Harry Hogwarts?
He had Hogwarts because he messed around.
He did the BBC television version of the Enfield one, which was a great version.
Phenomenal.
And probably closer to the truth.
Yeah, and actually was, in my opinion, I thought it was better.
Mm-hmm. I think it's because it is closer to the truth, and it showed a lot of early paranormal theory, investigation theory. I think it's a lot better than the Conjuring universe version of it.
Yeah.
Because, of course, again, the Conjuring universe movies also make it sound like the Warrens were involved in this case for months or days or years. Sometimes they were there for 3 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they were there for 3 days. They saw what they needed. They got themselves publicity and they got out of Dodge quickly.
Yeah. All right. So let's go back to the topic at hand, the pros of the Warrens. Do you want to talk about that?
Mm-hmm. So let's break it down here. Let's go into the major parts, the pros of the Warren, Ed and Lorraine Warren, right? They did bring attention to paranormal research at the time when it was not mainstream.
True.
They were prolific in documenting and archiving thousands of cases. They helped shape the modern ghost hunting community. They were committed for decades. They traveled, investigated, and risked their own health and safety, allegedly.
Right. And a key thing, too, is they were real people. It wasn't, there are no actors, no paranormal reality TV shows or anything like that. They were legit just Ed and Lorraine from next door.
Yeah. Which I don't know if I'd want them as neighbors with the basement. It might be something you want to call zoning about.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. They were, whether you believe in them, they believed it, right?
Yeah.
And they risked a lot for what they saw as their mission, right? They weren't financed. Like there wasn't a production company paying for them to fly to these places, to drive to these places. Now, that being said, let's look at the other side of this.
Yeah, let's turn the tables here. And what are the cons?
Fair question.
All right.
Critics argue the lack of scientific evidence. A lot of their claims do not hold up to scrutiny at all. The accusation of sensationalism, turning events into more dramatic stories for books and films. Some cases, like Amityville, are suspected to be hoaxes, just made up stories.
Yeah.
There's also skepticism about Lorraine's medium abilities. Many say they were never verified. It's an unverified skill.
Right.
She would never subject herself necessarily to testing of that skill.
Well, to your point, suspected hoaxes. I mean, people say they've been making it all up.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's go back to the accusation of sensationalism, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dramatic stories, making them bigger than they were, right? The guy who helped write some of their books, or they're contributing to movies and stuff like that, has quoted Ed as saying, well, whatever will make it sound scarier.
Yeah.
Whatever will make it sound better.
Yeah.
Like, here's what happened. Like, we watched a cup slide across the table, but simple question to you. If I say, hey, Les, if a cup slides across the table, right? Is that scary?
Depends.
Okay, but if that same cup doesn't just slide across the table, it goes sliding across the table and then flies 8 foot and smashes on a wall, is that scary?
That would be scarier for sure.
Okay. So, cup slid on a table, the story, the truth is the cup slid on the table.
Mm-hmm.
The story told to the general public is the cup slid on the table and flew across the room 8 foot and smashed at a wall.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Logic, using scientific evidence or methodology, would be, was the bottom of the cup wet?
Mm-hmm.
Was it floating on the table? Was there a slight angle on the table that the moisture allowed the cup to slide on?
Yeah.
Right? They didn't do that. Then they make the story more sensational for the book or the film is, oh, we walked in the room and all the furniture was piled on top of each other in a pyramid shape.
Yeah.
Did a chair maybe fall over? Like not necessarily the whole room, all the chairs were in a stack, but did a chair happen to move?
Yeah.
The Enfield story is a little more believable because it was constables who witnessed chairs move.
Yeah.
They witnessed them like bounce across the floor, the table move, standing in the room where they could clearly, if there was a vibration causing this, they would have also felt it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're watching stuff move and smash off walls and pile itself up. Right. But you start to get into also one of the things I was listening to, I can't remember what the case was, but it was a case that Ed and Lorraine Warren investigated. They came to the family after the story had already been on the news locally. They showed up and talked to the family, came in and, Lorraine did her walk around and she's getting all these things happening, and Ed's selling used cars or something.
Being Fast Eddie.
So they're there for about a couple of days, maybe 3 days. And of course, Lorraine ends up with a burn mark on her arm.
Mm-hmm.
The child of the family witnessed her running hot water on her arm before the burn mark appears right on that arm. So she says to her parents, like, the cops were involved in this. The cops said, we think it's the kid. The kid says, look, I did one thing that you guys witnessed. I have not done the rest of this. The police and the town and the fire department, they actually had to like cordon off the house because there were so many people gathering outside.
Yeah.
They basically asked the Warrens to leave because the Warrens were going out and just giving news interviews. They weren't helping the family. Every time the news would show up, they'd go out and talk to them. They would make the case bigger and bigger every time they talked to the media. The family got their phone bill from the month that the Warrens were at the home for those couple of days. They had to sue the Warrens for the money for their phone bill because Ed was calling TV stations all over the region trying to get press coverage. Long distance phone calls on their phone. They actually had to sue them over the money to pay the phone bill because they were sensationalizing the story.
Yeah.
So
well, it's like we talked about earlier today. Like you just look at that dude and he looks like a slimy used car salesman. And like the crazy Eddies, you know, the prices are insane, you know, doing whatever you can to turn a buck.
Yeah, and I mean, I can understand why they were doing it. Like, because again, there was no production company. There was no, at this point, there was no book deal and movie deal. Like, it wasn't, you know, if you really think about it, Lorraine might have made some money off of The Conjuring, but it'll really be her kid.
Yeah.
And her kid's new husband or second husband or whatever he is that makes most of the money off their life work.
Yeah.
So them being able to tour and give lectures at these universities and stuff on the subject matter was how they really funded their whole career.
Yeah.
You know, her, I don't know where I fall on her. Her as an old lady, seeing her on all those TV shows, she just looked like a sweet old grandma.
Yeah.
And you just gave her the benefit of the doubt that she was a clairvoyant, right?
Yeah.
I watched the opposite side of that coin, and you know, my favorite other clairvoyant, I don't buy a freaking thing he says.
True.
So, you know, and of course now they're in communication with each other. Even though Lorraine's now been dead for years and stuff like that, but all of a sudden she's decided to talk to him.
Yeah, his buddy is taking Annabelle out on tour.
Yeah, they're all connected.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Throw a couple bucks this way.
Yep.
Follow the money, as they say.
Well, I mean, let's face it, this whole Annabelle tour thing is the biggest case of paratourism ever.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know. So what's next in the cons? Or do we cover them all?
We actually covered all the major cons. I mean, it's basically a lack of scientific evidence, the sensationalism of everything they did, the suspected hoaxes, because even like the Enfield story, a lot of that was hoaxed by one of the kids. The funny thing is, like, a lot of these cases, the kids somehow outsmart all these adults.
I know. It's crazy.
You know, and then you have like the Amityville, where was it the fact that the family just bought a house they couldn't afford, needed to get out of it? You know, of course they claim that was never the case, you know, because they did get it at a discount because it was a murder house. Like, nobody wanted to live in it. And
that's true. I mean, I wouldn't want to live in a house that a whole family was butchered in. All right, so we covered the pros and cons. Now we're going to hop over to the next segment of pop culture and legacy. So let's talk about that.
I don't want to. You didn't hear me. I said I don't want to.
I couldn't. No, I didn't hear you.
Oh. Well, you know, thanks to the Conjuring universe, right? The Warrens' legacy is now stronger than ever. New generations are learning about them through the movies. Though, of course, the films take very big dramatic liberties.
Well, I mean, real life doesn't always come with jump scares and orchestra music.
Right. But the fact remains their name is synonymous with modern paranormal investigation.
Well, yeah, they did leave quite a mark. I mean, good or bad, people are still talking about them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, hell, we're talking about them.
Exactly.
And they've both been dead for years now.
Yeah.
So, where do we stand in our humble little explorers' opinions?
Well, I think kind of like what you had mentioned before, I think they believed in what they were doing. Maybe they saw things other people couldn't. Maybe they were wrong. Maybe they were right. I don't know for sure, but it does make for a good story. And again, they believed in what they were doing, and that could possibly be they believed in the scam. You know what I mean?
Agree.
Putting on the show.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you there. I think they were sincere,
Yeah.
but that doesn't guarantee accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
And any, lack of solid proof leaves a lot of room for doubt.
Yeah.
Still, they did help people, at least emotionally.
Yeah, and even if you don't believe in ghosts, you believe in comfort, and that's something.
Well said, Les.
Well written, Chad.
Now, I would
You
like,
make me sound good.
yeah, I would like to kind of think about that word, like you said. They may have just 100% believed in the scam.
Right. Yeah. Well, I would definitely say he was the front runner. I mean, I don't know. This is just me making judging a book by its cover and making a off the cuff assumption based on face value. Like he looks like a con artist.
Yeah.
And I think she was just drug into it against her will, maybe slightly. And after a while, just kind of rode with it. Like this is her gig now,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I said, seeing her in a much older stage in life on those shows and listening to her talk and give interviews and stuff like that, I tend to believe she had some ability.
Yeah.
Listening to Andrea Perone from the Conjuring House family,
Yeah.
she had a lot of good things to say about her.
Mm-hmm.
Ed, was she the gift? Was she the actual clairvoyant psychic trans medium who could do these things in reality?
Yeah.
And he was the, hey, my wife is special, so let me exploit this.
Yep. Yep. I was just gonna say he's kind of like the he's the freak show announcer. You know what I mean? Come look at the clairvoyant lady. She'll read your thoughts and talk to ghosts, and you know what I mean? Just come and bring your money.
Yeah, the carnival barker.
Yeah, there you go. That's exactly, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, like they say, there's a rube born every minute.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it is very.
We're past our hour.
Yeah, we're past our hour, I was going to say. Whether you see them as pioneers or just performers,
Mm-hmm.
Ed and Lorraine were undeniably help shape what is the paranormal landscape.
Yeah. I mean, and their haunted legacy continues, like we said, with through their kids and grandkids, and just keep an eye on your doll collection tonight. I mean, I've got plenty stuffies behind me that could come to life.
Yeah, I got a Bumble.
Yeah, the Bumble.
If the Bumble comes to life, I'm in deep shit.
Mm-hmm. I have a 5-foot Bigfoot stuffed animal back there, so that could come and get me in any minute.
Oh, what was that?
I forgot to tell you. I got to show you the.
Hey,
The kids got me that Yeti puppet for Christmas. Remember? They got me a Yeti puppet. Now they got me a Nessie puppet too. It's awesome. It's that Folk Menace brand. They have the best puppets.
I don't want to know what you do with those.
Long days in the studio. I could tell you that.
Yep.
The kids were actually joking with me. They're like, "Dad, you should have the puppets on the show." I'm like, I could barely say my own lines, let alone puppet talk.
I think I'm next time I write something for us, I'm making you do the puppets. You're gonna have two of them.
Maybe one episode the puppets will show up.
Nessie will have their own part. Bigfoot will have his own part, and so will you.
Well, I have the Yeti. I didn't get the Bigfoot yet, but
I'm sorry, Yeti.
There you go. Yeah, they're awesome. They're really cool.
Yeah, it's hot out. I forget things.
That's right. Don't forget your pork tummy too.
Oh God. Don't get
All
me
right.
started.
Yeah. Let's wrap this up now.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us for episode 89 of Explorers Seekers of the Truth. If you had your own haunted encounter or want us to cover a case, drop us a line on our socials.
Yes, and that's right. And while you're there, follow us on Facebook, like and subscribe on YouTube. And if you would be so kind to give us a 5-star review on whatever podcast provider or platform you listen to us on, we would very, very much appreciate it.
Yes, and we will have a very special dead air this weekend, which will actually be another one of the Warrens cases that Les and I actually grew up in the area of, and will also basically be the format for the final movie in the Conjuring series.
Yep. It'll be a perfect segue from this show into the next, and that should be coming out this Saturday night, guys. So watch your Facebook and YouTube notifications, and that will be a pre-recorded show. It's not a live show, so tune in for that one. And as always, you guys, thank you for interacting tonight. We love you guys for that, and we love you for always being there with us on this little journey we're taking. So that's all I got.
Yes, and we'll be back in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll have Saturday, we'll be dead air, and then in 2 weeks we'll return with, I believe, our next episode is going to be on the history of paranormal television.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then the following episode after that of our regular bi-weekly show will be a very special tribute to two of the pioneers of paranormal talk radio.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But
definitely
until
tune
then,
in for those. Yeah.
Yeah. Until then,
keep seeking the truth.
seeking the truth.
That's good. All right. Good night, everybody.